Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. This time around, going to be joined by BDB and Zoo. Zoo, excited to have you on the desk, man. I know you're probably catching a couple of those first series going on. Unfortunately, Maryville falling. But hey, glad we got you for this one.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. And looking to expand my horizons a little bit. First time being on the desk for someone besides Maryville, so it should be a good time.
I'm excited to have you as well, as always, Zoo. And we have a fun matchup ahead of us as both of these teams playing to keep their tournament lives going, as it is third party versus Wildcard Aces on twitch.tv/academy. I do have word, twitch.tv/unified live. Maryville going to a third game against Taco Gaming. Doxa also has his hands on the Zoe, a Doxa special. Cool. So if you are excited in that series, go hop over to twitch.tv/unified live. Support all of Amateur. If you got two monitors, throw us up on both. Hopefully you chose to have us be unmuted, because we have to drop some knowledge bombs on you before we get into Wildcard Aces versus third party. And BDB, want to start with you. Wildcard Aces, once again, this team playing for their tournament lives, but I think it's important to note, this was the wildcard team that ended up making it out of OQs, and that was a big surprise for all of us.
It was. I mean, we kind of had opposite expectations, funny enough, thinking that, yeah, wildcard main makes it through, wildcard aces, I don't know, we'll see, something along those lines. But they ended up flipping our expectations quite severely, and now this is the team that we're working with here. And as you say, they're fighting for those very lives that they earned in the OQs at the moment here. A team that, I mean, we highlighted it in the previous matchups here, where these teams are very bot focused, and no exception is made for Wildcard Aces. It is all about Jeremy, it's all about Pockets, and you can see it in the ways that they draft more often than not. And the games where they struggle are actually times where they are under threat in the bottom lane. That clip actually is a perfect example where no team just absolutely battered and bruised the bottom lane there of Jeremy and Pockets. And when you do these sorts of things against the squad, they find it very hard to recover.
And Zoo, I know talking before the game, specifically Toasty, Jeremy, a couple names thrown around about Wildcard Aces. What are some of the things that get you excited about this squad?
Well, I really like the fact that they prioritize team fighting around those neutrals. I think it's one of the most efficient things to be able to practice when you're a new team. Every game you go into scrims, you're essentially getting X amount of repetitions to do the same thing. You could see it in the way that they draft. It's definitely playing for a bit more of that solo matchup on top side, a bit more of a scaling 2v2 mid jungle, and playing around those hyper carry 80 carries to be able to get those team fights that they want. So I'm really just excited. I think both teams stylistically match into each other pretty well. So whoever can essentially show up better on the day is going to have the advantage.
I'm excited to see. It's always fun watching a couple of similar styles go toe-to-toe. We spent a lot of time talking about Wildcard Aces. Don't want to have third party, though, be a third party on our desk segment. We got to get them involved in the conversation as well. As Zoo, want to start with you again. I know that a lot of this team's focus is playing through their bot lane, but something that stands out to you talking before this series, Zamudu, someone that is a really exciting player on the top side.
Yeah, for sure. And I think he has a lot of one-on-one laning strength. He's somebody that I was watching a lot in the preseason, in the in-house challenger scrims and all that stuff. He has really strong Fiora play. He plays a lot of GP, things like Jace as well. And last series, if I recall correctly, he was first PCL, and he was in a Malphite matchup, as well as it was a Gangplank into Jace. Malphite into Graves and Gangplank into Jace. And he was forcing flash in both those lanes. He was even in CS. His wave management was pretty decent. Didn't get punished on any big jungle timers. So really, if the 4v4 doesn't necessarily go according to plan, I think they also have a secondary win condition in their top side. Maybe create some split push threat and be able to essentially pull two people top and make it easier to fight those dragons that they want.
Something else to look out for, and of course will be important, as I mentioned, both these teams, it is win or go home, as they did drop their first series in this group. Winner, of course, gets the privilege of going toe-to-toe against Maryville Saints next week. And do want to get recentered on this series. I teased it earlier, but Beatdown, really where we're looking the most when it comes to these two teams going toe-to-toe, it's that bot lane matchup. It's going to be Lunar versus Jeremy.
That's right. Again, both of these teams very bot censored, and it's like Zoo was saying, even though third party do have that option with Samuto, for the most part, they do play for these bottom lanes. That's why we're looking at these 80 carries. You can see the stats here in this head-to-head, and you can see how good that they are. And a lot of the games we're seeing, it's the hyper carries, it's the Jinxes, the Aphelioses. Occasionally, we did see the Vayne come out. I'm pretty sure that was for Lunar in the previous series, if I'm remembering correctly. So I'm sure we're going to see a lot of spicy picks in that regard if things get a little mixy in the draft, because it seems like banning 4 or 5 80 carries is just all the rage these last couple weeks.
Yeah, I do want to also highlight the Caitlyn as well. I know that Jeremy not only has put on good performances in Proving Grounds with that, but even has shared some highlights from Champions Queue. As of course, these players do get access to the same server as the pros at the moment. But I know we are running late on time. Before we get your predictions, we actually had to import another Giga Brain. So we're going to have to see what our dog Tucker predicted for this series. Okay, we got third party. Thank you, Figurative, helping out behind the scenes. And then Tucker. We're going to have to see if Tucker is smarter than the dogs I got on my desk. Beatdown, going to start with you. What do you got for this series?
Okay, this time my predictions are actually consistent. I said it was going to be Wildcard that we're going to take the series. But yeah, I think Wildcard.
Wildcard. Zoo, what do you got?
I have 2-1 third party unless Wildcard bans Vex or plays Prio into it, then it'll be 2-1 Wildcard. So 2-1 third party, I suppose.
Okay, interesting. Honestly, I think that this could be a close series. I like both bot lanes, but I'm with you, Zoo. I actually really like the top side. I thought Samuto has shown some good things in Champs Queue, and I think that might be a big difference as I guess going 2 games. Selfishly, though, I do hope we have 3, but the people taking us through those games. It will not be us 3. It'll be the 2 casters, the lovely voices, Travesty Rebel. Take it away once again.
Thank you yet again to our absolutely lovely desk. We are here getting ready for our second series of the day. We got third party versus Wildcard Aces, and all the cards are on the table between these two squads. Winner goes on to the next round. Loser has to go home here, Rebel.
It's a fight for your life scenario between these two teams, and obviously neither one of them have any points in terms of qualification for making it to Proving Grounds. So if you want to be top 10 from this point on, you have to keep fighting for your life. So a knockout here probably doesn't net you enough points to be in the top 10, probably doesn't net you a spot inside of Proving Grounds or potential qualification. So this really is basically the end of your season for the remaining of the spring split. You got to come back in summer with a rebuilt roster, and that's not always where you want to be. You want to continue fighting here in the spring, here and now. You get a chance against another team to be able to fight for your life, go on to playoffs, and maybe make a run that can potentially get you those points necessary to at least be top 10. Compete for that Proving Ground spot.
Third party looking for the possible revenge to come in here, as they know that it is on. We know who's waiting for them, right? There is Maryville Saints that is waiting for whoever is going to pick up the dub here, as well as Wildcard Aces looking to continue showing what they can do. A lot of people talked about it. It's a squad that was slept on, and they got everybody's attention here now. We're already in the bans here coming at us. These are some interesting bans here.
Wildcard. You are crazy with these bans. So Munchie has played like a really wide variety of champions over the last while, right? Like a couple of them during the course of like the qualifier and everything else. But to come out here and to go no Yi, no Rengar. The Rengar makes sense. The Yi coming out of left field, they didn't have the greatest of performance, but I understand if you're not prepped for it, you're not prepped for it. But it doesn't remove the Vex. And I know Zoo made that point specific, and I agree with him. I think Message's best champion by a significant margin has been the Vex over the games that I've been able to see. And it means that third party get access to backline. It's something that assists with anything else that Munchies wants to try to bring out. Not only that, they get themselves on the hold of the Jinx, which is a huge pick to make sure that Lunar doesn't have to worry about the bot side pressure they might try to apply for Jeremy.
We highlighted the bot lane inside of our desk and saw exactly, the matchup between Lunar and Jeremy. Jeans is a matchup that we've talked about time and time again ever since the last open qualifier. It's been a huge champion just to keep our eyes on. Another huge one is the Jin Zhao. Wildcard immediately grabbing that up to pair it together with the Lulu. I'm curious how third party answers.
Really good at skirmishing already inside of this one to be able to snag the Xin Zhao and the Lulu. And it means, I think, Wildcard to me would like to play for a little bit faster in terms of around to neutral objectives, right? If there's a contestation for Rift Herald, you take that 5-on-5 contestation. If there's a contestation for an early dragon, you take that contestation, because you're usually not losing when you've got the Xin Zhao Lulu combination in your back pocket. However, this does yield the Thresh. The Lulu support can put some abuse into it, but obviously the Thresh has a variety of tools to be able to apply in a situation like this. And Munchie might not go to something crazy. It's unfortunate. Did play a lot of Lee Sin over the course of the qualifiers, what I think is most played champion throughout both the first and the second one between the two. So yes, you had these pop-out performances of the Rengar did really well. The Yi was a little bit of a surprise pick, had some moments here and there, but the Lee Sin was the rock that all of this was built upon, because the Lee Sin was something you had to put respect towards.
Yeah, the Lee Sin is terrifying. Ban pick phase is done. Ban phase 2 coming next, and the picks coming in here. Zamudo, we talked about it. The desk already said, yo, this is somebody who was a threat in the top side. I'm expecting a lot of bans his way.
Yeah, third party together as a team, I think they're really well rounded across the board. In fact, I love that our desk talked about Zamudo and Munchie a little bit, but specifically Zamudo versus Min is the one I want to talk about the most. This matchup to me is the most intriguing. Min actually showed some really solid play. I think he had a couple 2 to 3 kills against Dragoon in the matchup up against No Team in the one-on-one in the laning phase. That shows some kind of realistic prowess that really is individual play coming out of Min. And up against Zamudo, who is, again, one of these rising talents at Challenger recently as well, is an exceptional talent in the top lane position, really kind of coming together. And I love that Wildcard, they ban away one of the more important champions. I know our desk talked about the Gangplank, making sure the blind pick's not going to come in, and they're going to set up for a counter pick to make sure that Min's in a positive position to be able to take that one-on-one in the laning phase the way he did against Dragoon as well.
Make use of that individual talent, and they're going to look to unleash power. What other champion better than that than Syndra? On the other side, third party, they have a blind pick top that they have to grab. What is Zamudo feeling? They're hovering to Jace. Have to see if that's the champion they're resolved to take.
I know both of us know Ravish. I know a lot of people know Ravish. He would be, if this Jace gets locked in, he would be absolutely livid if there's no Yorick in response. And I know that Wildcard and Third Party are both accustomed to taking a little bit more off the wall type picks. I know we saw the Zac yesterday, which was a great pick, or not yesterday. I think it was yesterday. That was actually banned out here from the side of Third Party to make sure Wildcard doesn't get their hands on it as well, which I think is a pretty big statement given just how well it worked. Or it didn't work out, but it still it was something in the back pocket of Wildcard. Same as like the Rengar and the E-bans. Again, a lot of the specific stuff that went crazy for these two teams. These are relatively tame drafts in that regard. Like these are like
yeah, right. Look at the
drafts. we were hoping for like Shakos and like Heimerdingers, but no, we're getting none of that. We're just getting this blanket of champions to see when who would have guessed that when all of your champions are so specific that like you have to ban them out and you leave all the meta stuff up, you're gonna pick the meta stuff instead.
When the meta becomes your fallback, right?
And when the meta becomes the crazy stuff that you pick, apparently.
It's so unorthodox. Whoa! So we do see the drafts complete here. And I will say Third Party definitely look like they're a team looking to scrap. But on the other side, you talked about it as well. They've got some great scrapping in the side of Wildcard Aces.
Yeah, it's a matter of, again, I think putting multiple members together for the side of Wildcard actually looks really good, right? Like, you put a Syndra with a Xin Zhao, and you've got a lot of range, you've got a lot of damage into single targets, especially with the ultimate. You pair that with an Aphelios at level 6, you pair that with a Lulu, all of a sudden this is a very formidable 4-stack. They don't have, they've got frontline, they've got engage, they've got kind of everything that you need. The other side also has really well-rounded composition altogether, right? You got Jinx with Thresh on the bottom side, you got a Control Mage in the Rise that's going to get outranged by the Syndra to start off with, so that's why I think Wildcard has a bit of an edge when it comes to the mid lane push to kick things off. But I like the Lee Sin over the Xin Zhao in the very early game to start off on like the first clear into the second clear, things like that, before the Xin Zhao really starts to pop off without finding some kind of sneaky play in between. So I'm looking for Munchie to jump that initial like play from Xin Zhao and try to find something for someone, whether it's a flash in the mid lane, whether it's a topside play to get the Jace going. He just needs to kickstart the engine really quickly before Rapid really starts to get going.
And we did see a trend, and I want to touch on it in the previous qualifier where we did see the Xin Zhaos. We saw a bad habit of the full clearing Xin Zhao, and that's something I don't want to see here inside of this. Where 12.4 has been a couple patches since then. I want to see the Xin Zhao have some aggression. I want to see Rapid get onto the map because like you were talking about, I mean, you've got some great lanes to gank for in this, just your solo lanes alone. Camille's great, and Syndra's great as well. So I feel like Rapid, a lot of pressure on him to go ahead and make sure he's visiting these lanes and get those kills for these lanes that have such great gank assist.
Yeah, you can set up really well in the mid lane. You can actually set up on both sides really effectively with the mid lane because you've got 2 ability lockdown that combines with CC that comes through from Munchie or Rapid. We actually could see quite a bit of the prevalence on the mid 2v2 as the combination of this game. Because like both of them, unlocking your mid laner does so much to make sure that your side lanes go well. The one difference of this, of course, being I think that obviously with the Thresh, I think there's better setup for bottom side for Munchies, and with the Camille, there's better setup for top side for Rapid, which is kind of against the grain of what we thought, right? I actually anticipated that third party might be more willing to play towards their top side, try to set themselves up for like gank support for Munchies on there, and just hope that, you know, Lunar and Out of Wit are capable enough to be able to tank whatever happens with Jeremy and Bacchus bot lane. It seems as though the opposite is true. I know there's plenty of damage inside of the Aphelios and the Lulu on the bottom side, so Wildcard feels comfortable with them down there on their own, and they can set up a lot more of their aggression towards the top side where all this gank setup for Rapid is.
And we saw both of these bot laners. I want to touch on them. They've both been bot laners that have been highly participating inside of these team fights. They've been big decision makers, putting out some good numbers for their squads. They're both on carries that are absolutely going to blow up in the mid game. I feel like as a scary thing to think about is both of these bot laners can pop off at a moment's notice and wipe the field, as we are going into game number 1 here between Third Party and Wildcard Aces.
And what a kickoff to a game like this. I'm already seeing some interesting things across the board. We got the call in the bottom lane for Jeremy, understanding the situation he's in. I think we got an update. I'm going to get corrected pretty much immediately if I say this incorrectly, but it sounded to me like Taco Gaming beat Maryville in a 2-1 just seconds ago. So that means both Maryville teams actually dropped games today against the other opposing. So both of them will have to play for their lives to get into the further bits of the tournament here.
Teams are just cursed that they have to fake that team on Tuesdays.
Taco Tuesday is a real thing, man.
The only team that's been able to topple them has been IMT AOE, and they ain't facing them anytime soon. So
the T in IMT AOE actually stands for tacos as well.
It's strats right there. Oh man, you can see the setup coming up between these two squads, as this is the fight for their life, though. And
it's actually kind of cool. We actually see the reverse of what we saw in the previous game. So because Paucus ran down bot lane to make sure there was no 5-man stack with the ward, and so that they could step up so that the Thresh doesn't control the laning phase from second 1 by being in the mid brush and being able to contest into the opposing brush, it actually meant that the ward went down in the opposing jungle the same way that Maryville put one down in the previous game. Out of Wit, getting a bit of damage back. Is it Aphelios Jinx level 1, so it's not the most enticing of beginnings to the game here between the two. But again, they do know where Rapid is going to be starting. The ward went down, they saw him be able to sweep it. They know that he's got the red ward, and that's already been burnt. So a good amount of resource. Rapid at least not going to be able to be tracked, but positive start here for both teams to be able to snag up the ward, but more importantly also to track that jungle pathing for the side of third party.
This lethal tempo Jin Zhao in here, looking to see if he'll be able to be lethal inside of the matchup. Being tracked is going to make it a bit harder for him on that, as they'll be able to see exactly where he's coming from, as you do see the shoves coming out across the board for third party.
Yeah, it's a matter of, Zamudo, range champion at the beginning of the game, was able to get very quick level 2 over top of Min, and that has shut out the Camille's ability to contest the wave whatsoever. That's pretty nice. The Ryze also wrestled away some lane priority from the Syndra to begin the game as well. So that's messages actually have shove here. I know Syndra at the very early levels only has the Q pretty much to work with. Another ward actually gets brought down as well. They're really doing their best on the side of third party to track Rapid to make sure he's not doing anything. Much like you said, oftentimes we've seen Zinzal's kind of get way too passive at the beginning of the game, and here third party not taking any chances, instead just making sure that he's going to be tracked his entire way from top to bottom through his jungle.
Setting up for possible plays. I know where he was at, and 200 on for third party. Let's see exactly what they'll be able to do. It's a very quiet game. Neither one of the teams have been able to proc an advantage here or there. Scuttle will be found and will be secured in the bot side of the map. Rapids over here looking for a possible steal. Will he find it? No, and it is going to be a resonating strike Munchie is looking to munch into Rapid, forcing the flash out. This is exactly what you want to see from Munchie.
And the support is here. Again, the fact that Aphelios without a level 1 does harm a little bit in the early laning phase. You can see the wave wasn't super far pushed in, but one way or another, the Aphelios Lulu wasn't able to actually step out of the lane, and that meant that support was there from Lunar, from Out of Wit to help with the invade against Rapid. Munchie, I think, wins that 1v1 with the red buff, with the level 4 over the level 3 one way or another, whether the knockup's there for Xin Zhao or not, and so that forces out Rapid. The support was there, the 1v1 is going to be there, and now Munchie gets to kind of prey on the remainder of the map. Problem is, double longsword means it's not likely that the 1v1 any longer goes to the side of Munchie. He's level 3, but the double longsword kind of changes things. So for me, it's about watching when Munchie's actually going to get a chance to full reset here and look for a little bit more. Because he's got wards of the opposing Raptors, might get to see where Rapid's going to be during the course of his clear.
He's got some camps to clear. Did get double scuttle off of that as well. Rapid looking up here towards this top side. You do see pings coming from this Lee Sin as well. Looking to make the action continue to go. Munchie has not backed just yet. And there we go. Hook shot going for Zamudo. Goes hammer form and is looking to bring the action. But there's a steer coming in. Min finding himself getting dropped down. The autos come in. Munchie finds first blood. But is it worth? 2 kills go over in the top side. Wildcard Aces find him 2 in response.
Both junglers ending up to the top side of the map, and again, no back had come through from Munchie quite yet, so that means that it's unfortunate. Rapid got to come back with double longsword and met inside of that 2v2. Rapid was going to be the strongest member pretty much across the board. Zamudo, thankfully, with that flash in the W, was able to drop him in low enough for the response kill. I was hoping it would actually go onto the Jace. The 2 kills, like you said, actually spread out between Rapid and Min. If it had been double onto Rapid, I think this would have been a lot more trouble actually coming out for the side of third party than it would have actually had.
You can even see, right? We have a replay of exactly what happened there. And, Munchie just didn't have the items.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, Rapid is incredibly strong. They almost believe they could have full disengaged. It would have been tough. But Min had to walk out of that fight one way or another because the health bar was just too low. Couldn't really re-engage because there was no hook shot. So it was a little interesting that they decided to turn and dive through them anyway to go after Min rather than just turn around and, get away from Rapid, who had actually been on that. They would have given a lot to tell.
Oh, Hextech ultimatum coming in. But
Wow.
Min gets it traded back. Zamudo picks up the solo kill in the top side.
Top gap, baby. Zamudo. What a play right there. That is not an example of NAJ. Somebody make sure that he's from somewhere in North America. That was kind of hot. That was something else, man. You don't get to see moves like that on a Jace very often.
Not at all. And I mean, he finished that off with a point blank shock blast too. Min taking the hurt as Rapid looking to press advantages. Going forward inside the jungle, we see Munchie just avoiding him at this moment. Understands, hey, the Xin Zhao is pretty strong. Has that pickaxe and double longsword for themselves. But Lee Sin will be able to find the scuttle over here on the top side of the map. So, all in all, standard stuff. Junglers are just kind of dancing around one another at this point.
It's a matter of, again, Rapid hasn't started doing things, but I think that's okay, because the Xin Zhao is still really powerful as you continue to get through levels, continue to get on a first item in that territory, and eventually becomes a very mean team fighter. Munchie, on the other side, obviously, you've got... Again, the scaling doesn't necessarily fall completely off, but it requires a lot more tact when it comes to trying to decide how to use the Dragon's Rage Kick and things like that in the later stages. So Munchie, I want to see use this power of the Lee Sin a little bit more. He has the start of what looks like a Gore Drinker. Could be looking for a lane gank to try to get this top lane going just a little bit further ahead. Because Zamudo gets tipped just a little more on the scale. This top matchup could become very volatile for Min very quickly, and from really playing out the laning phase the way they would want. Munchie and the minions were far enough up. They didn't see Munchie enter the brush. That's just about baiting out Mindy or up.
Lee Sin is looking pretty scary inside of the bush now, but over in the mid lane, a nice rune prison to come out for messages, and a phase rush later will be able to escape a possible deadly encounter, as Lee Sin still trying to do his best assassination over here in the top side, but will go ahead and get the recall off and disperse from this top lane, as both junglers trying to find some action here early on.
It's actually here fast enough to where I think the coverage from Munchie ended up leading to Min having to push this wave in, and it's going to draw the attention of Rapid to make sure that the wave gets in fully so that Min can take a full back. anything. So respect to Rapid being around. They do spot it out, and of course the wave's not going to be under quite yet. And the cover comes back from Munchie. He went from backing out of that top rush right back to a deployment on top side to make sure that there was no play from Rapid, who was actually going after the Rift. It spotted him on that on the ward, and it meant that Munchie had to kind of be there for the coverage. You could see that's what the ward is for. So Rapid finding a really nice little play on the lapse of vision. If they see him and he goes for the Rift Herald, they either have to extend in to look for the Rift Herald, which he's already begun, and he's got top push for. Or, they play defensive. They only just saw him. Oh, actually, wait, Munchie might go in.
Strike is coming in. He's going forward. Rapid is going to take this 1v1 scenario. The headset going to make him over into the top side. Forces Zamudo away, but Lee Sin wins those 1v1s inside the pit. Will come out on top. And now Min, in a world of pain, the Rune Prison stops him. And that's Messages finding a kill in the top lane.
That was it was kind of astonishing, actually. Really nice kind of deductive reasoning coming out from Munchie, because again, they had watched where Rapid was going to be, and they decided to poke into the Rift Herald pit, and that led to him finding that out. And yes, he lost the Rift Herald, which it kind of stinks. That's the one thing that could have been like the cherry on top of everything else that came about. But it did end up leading to a very massive swing of advantage for the top side here for third party. Both teams appear to be playing to it far more than the bottom side this game, and it's going much better now that third party's been able to use this decent Munchie very effectively in the early stage of the game.
Check this out. They got another ward here. They are spotting Rapid completely out. The third party's doing such a great job of just tracking Rapid wherever they go. This Jin Zhao has almost always been in vision of some type. He's starting up the dragon on top of a ward. He's trying to drag it out, but he's just dragging it on the vision.
Yeah, it's a level 6 and level 7 for a couple of members here on the side of third party. They're able to walk into the river. And this is where I think Wildcard's okay taking this this test to third party. Because again, their composition's much stronger when you put pieces together. When you combine Lulu with Xin Zhao, it becomes great. When you combine the range of the Aphelios and the Syndra from a very far distance, you can put out very safe, consistent damage against a number of targets at once. Force down health bars very effectively. So thinking ahead, third party decides not to go for anything crazy. They're not going to walk in blindly. They're not going to fall victim to anything that Wildcard Ace has set. Instead, it's just the one dragon. They're willing to give that one up.
Good stuff. Nice control coming out from this squad. Wildcard Aces finding the moment to strike as well. These two squads very much so, even in this early game, looking for plays, looking at where Rapid is. He's coming down here to the bot side, still has Shelly in the pocket.
He does. Probably looking to finally start into the bottom lane play that we know that Wildcard has actually been accustomed to a number of times. I don't think Rapid popped out of the brush right there. I can't tell from the wards or from the pings or whatever. Push is not enough. They really didn't commit to that. I was waiting for Rapid to drop that one. If they do see the back timer come through, that is a bad place to be.
Yeah, they know that they're trying the back. Lee Sin's on the way.
Lee Sin is here for the cover. Oh,
Jefferson, it's not there.
So
That's
close.
a big cooldown as well. This is going to be the summoning of Shelly, and this is going to be the tower and the bot lane cracked open.
I'm really surprised at a number of decisions here coming out from both teams. The biggest thing, I almost wanted Wildcard to just let them full back and then commit fully to the Rift Herald on the bottom side, but they're comfortable waiting for the next wave. They obviously can't take the 3-on-3 in that case, so I was just a little curious. They were a little timid on the first push, and then they got very aggressive on the second push, so it worked out for them one way or another. That's all that really matters, I suppose. The Rift Herald ends up netting them. They did see the opposing jungler as well, which is kind of nice because they get a chance to see where Munchie is going to be on the map. And all that thing combined means that there's more gold in the pocket of Jeremy, which is what our analyst has talked about the most, is the ADC versus ADC matchup.
Another headstack ultimatum laid out, and the Ignite as well as Zamudo kites it out brilliantly. The Conqueror is going. Shot Blast not hitting through the acceleration gate. Munchie's here in the wings as well, but so is this Xin Zhao. These junglers have perfect reads on each other. They're always around one another. And here we see Pockets and Adaway over here as well. Is a setup for a possible dive, trying to apply some pressure here to this top side.
Trying to get some additional plate gold into Jace. Making sure that the Jace has the resources necessary. Currently sitting up about 30 CS over the lane opposition. Obviously, much better economically right now for Zamudo over his counterpart in the top lane. The same goes for bottom side. Again, Jeremy getting that big tower gold is kind of nice, but it was split between 3 people, so it wasn't the most impactful of all time. Whereas all these plates that have gone down on this top turret have gone directly into the pocket of the Jace, which is far more valuable, far more concentrated, making sure the damage is going to come through. And in the later stages, the member of this team that really gives the fits over to the side of Wildcard, the Jinx is very valuable for doing that because she's got the range to do it, but the Jace can drop the health bar of Jeremy or Toasty incredibly quickly with one quick shock blast, and they've done nothing to stop his gold from just skyrocketing and getting into some of the level 2 or the second, third item territory.
Be a disgusting situation to watch out for. Don't want Zamuda to turn into the raid boss. We know what happens when that hammer becomes oversized and does just that much damage. You can see this bot lane from Wildcard Aces continuously rotating from mid to this topside jungle as well. You can tell Wildcard Aces want to move this bot lane around to possible action as well. They want to get Jeremy popping off. We've seen what happens when Jeremy finds those moments, and it is a thing of beauty.
Truly is. Able to do quite a bit of carrying. Going to be expected to do a good amount of it in this game because Min is a pretty decent tidbit behind. Combine that with Toasty being on the Syndra, capable of doing carrying, has the Luden, so going to be a little bit more focused on trying to do some of the carrying. But obviously, I think the Aphelios is kind of the crux of this composition, all things considered. Especially when you consider like the diver they've got on the team is the Lee Sin, which isn't always the easiest to find that on, especially against the Gale Force Aphelios. And the other one is the contestant of course, the Jace. So when it comes to safety, Jeremy should be pretty decently set on the back line, unless things really start to collapse in front of him. And with a Xin Zhao with an ultimate, the Lulu with it as well, kind of makes it a pretty decent front line for Jeremy to be able to step up and fight. So I like the idea. Wildcard definitely need to find more and more ways to be able to put gold into this Aphelios, because I don't disagree with them. If you put everything in front of him and I guess Toasty on top of him, it's going to be really difficult to find a response if you're third party, unless you can break that front line really easily.
Not an easy task, though, as you said, especially when you got this Camille who's hasn't hesitated on the headstack ultimatum. I feel like we've almost seen this Camille use it. Min has been using their ability off cooldown, it seems like, in this top lane. And is this going to be a top tower 2 drop? But it will be second Drake secured for Wildcard Aces as a result.
And Wildcard Aces, again, if they are trying to set up their Aphelios for a 5-on-5 type carry, getting gold into him is really important. So they need to be able to take this game to a position where the Aphelios is actually going to have the gold necessary to win out those big duels. Third party, on the other hand, they're doing the opposite. They're putting gold in their pockets so that when the contestant is there from Wildcard Aces, they're going to have the gold to be able to contest. And right now, the Jace has been the beneficiary of all this gold, which is the one member that we highlighted as being capable of kind of ruining a lot of what Wildcard Aces are going to be looking for. So I think it's really good game planning from third party to continue into this. They don't quite have the gold I want them to have yet when it comes to being able to carry through this. The Rift Herald might actually make a fair amount of difference as well. They just popped it, I believe, on top side to get that tower, which is a good shift, but it's not quite a second item completed now for Zamudo. So now, to me at least, it comes down to, are they able to force a play somewhere to break either the mid or the bottom tower? I think those are big kind of instances where third party can bring
gosh,
this game
that
open.
damage!
Wow. Jeremy puts his foot down, 4 members in his face, and he's like, no, I'm not having any of this. I'm beating Lunar. That's final.
Like, bro, he immediately just flashed the Rammus emote at him and just like, yeah, no, this is what you get.
Okay.
Just keep walking up.
It's something. They got a little bit too close, and unfortunately the dog bites back at least a little bit harder right there. As Wildcard, they're surrounded, at least in the area, prepared for what could be like a counter pounce if they decide to go too far into Jeremy. So it's just poking by Lunar that ends up being, a solid gun setup is able to punish him a little harder than normally would be in most scenarios. So just a bit back and forth. It doesn't actually lead to all that much. It was just a nice, entertaining situation for Jeremy right there.
Just a nice little bit of burst, It makes our brains go, ooh,
Yeah.
ooh, it's like shiny things popping up on the screen, As Wildcard Aces looking to regain composure, getting themselves in a very defensive position here. Honestly, third party hasn't really been able to find anything in the past little bit. They were able to. We've only seen action really happening on the map when there's been trades of objectives. So it's just been kind of the back and forth between this mid, top, and bot.
The slow game. Here's some action. But never mind. There's no action to be found here.
No action.
Don't worry about that one.
There was no action in the bot lane.
Nothing happened bot lane. We're not watching there at all. Instead, I think what's important to track is, number one, how are we catching CS on both teams? And number two, what are we doing to set up for the next objective on the map? Because we're 2 minutes out. That means it's time to start considering what you're doing around the bottom side of the map, being pushing in mid lane, pushing in bot lane, to be able to get vision where it needs to be so you can set up around the neutral objective.
We did have a quick little technical difficulty, so we're going to take a moment to pause and kind of answer those questions. Think about it and see what these teams are going to be breaking up. Because, I mean, honestly, I'm with you. They're both doing the same thing. So who's doing it better at this point in time? And, I mean, honestly, I look at the CS numbers. My brain says Jace is picking up a lot of farm.
Yeah, the Jace is currently sitting up about 50 CS over their counterpart, right? Combine that with the tower gold. That tower gold gets handled a little bit by the Aphelios. I have to imagine that right now we're pretty even when it comes to pretty much across the board, save for the Jace, who probably has a decent advantage, combined with Munchie, who's got a little bit of that advantage as well. So for the most part, we're walking into, third dragon territory and Baron start territory with about even gold across the board, save for, again, a couple of members that have just a little bit of gold over top of their counterparts, which is pretty big. They're forcing it in mid lane here, which I think is really smart.
Yeah, check this out. Rapid goes in. That sentence doesn't connect. He is going to find himself rooted up, but saved by the little arena he created around himself, making sure that he stays safe in a sketchy situation. Oh, no.
Ooh.
Oh, no.
Oh,
That's
no.
messages completely taken out. Jeremy's going to be able to find that kill, and that is exactly what Wildcard Aces have been looking for.
See, now, the thing is, this was a very winning scenario for third party a second ago, because they burnt the Xin Zhao ultimate only about a minute out from when the Mountain Drake was going to come up, and that meant that they were the ones that could have enforced the fight. They were the ones that could have pushed into the enemy jungle, looked to enforce their willpower, get vision back, and probably make it difficult for Wildcard Aces to do anything except for muscle their way into the river and sit there, which would have yielded mid push and mid tower altogether. But right there, because of the pickoff, because of the heroics from mid to be able to lock down messages during the course of that one, that meant they get a pick, and that means that the whole play gets thwarted slightly. The wasted Xin Zhao ultimate now doesn't have the effects felt nearly as much. Instead, it's a full team back basically on both sides. They're going to redeploy directly towards the dragon. I'm guessing we're going to see some butting heads potentially around that neutral objective on both sides, unless of course we get somebody goes down or somebody doesn't feel comfortable here. Because again, Wildcard Aces are kind of putting themselves in a position where this is their win condition. This is what they want to do to be able to win a game like this. Actually, they find Rapid.
They are catching Rapid in a terrible situation. He does have the ultimate again, but the Dragon Rage kick comes in with authority. The Moonlight Vigil doesn't find the target they wish, did not find out of wit, but they are going to lay a nice shock blast, does a good amount of damage, and this will be the first straight that third party will be able to lay claim to.
And I think at the very beginning of that, Rapid didn't quite have the ultimate back, so he couldn't use it to knock away the Lee Sin before the fight had started. And that meant that on top of him was Munchies, who Dragon Rage kicks him into the rest of the team. And it doesn't matter whoever you decide to press the ultimate on. Messages actually gets caught out a little bit.
Yeah, tried to roam warp away, but the Wild Growth plus the hook shot just spells doom and gloom for them. That's just the scatter of the week to solidify he ain't going nowhere. The Headstack ultimatum followed. And that is going to be a quick succession of kills. But 3 members dedicated to that play did mean Jinx got a tower in the bot side. Out of wit, you have not backed yet?
What in the world?
What?
I think when you see 3 members top, you almost certainly just dump everything you have into the mid wave and then back immediately if you're out of wit. This was the problem I think they were trying to prevent by keeping people on the map to make sure that Wildcard Aces stay silent. But again, they just pulled the Rise and the Thresh away, so it is just Munchies, Zamudo, and Lunar. They are low too. They burnt a lot of tools making both of those plays happen right there. And especially with the shock blasts coming in, it's not shocking that Wildcard Aces are going to want to pull off of that situation. It was nice in a couple of places there where Wildcard was able to capitalize, but this is a problem too. This is my biggest problem that's been happening. Wildcard has found solid strikes, but they've done nothing to slow down Lunar, and they've done nothing to slow down Zamudo, which are the 2 main carries of third party. Their win conditions inside of this game, especially inside of team fights, are these 2 champions, and they have nothing has been able to prevent them from getting gold. Not at all in the last couple of minutes, to the point where now Zamudo is actually hovering right about the 3rd item territory. When that item and that penetration from the grudge comes in, I'm not feeling good about where Jeremy's going to be in this game. I'm not feeling good about where Toasty's going to be in this game.
Already getting half HP'd, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
not gonna, like, we're seeing the results before it, and now the armor pain coming in, it's just gonna be a huge pain to have to deal with, especially with Lunar, who's possibly going to continue getting just a lot of advantage. Hasn't been able to find a kill just yet, but it just found 2 towers in that mix-up. So, third party, I mean, if you're a fan, if you're cheering for third party right now, you got a lot to get excited for, as they do have the key members accelerating here. Zane strike on the Jeremy, does not go in on it, does show a little bit of control, knows that the rest of the team isn't prepared.
Wildcard is grouping, and they're playing on fewer lanes, which I do love right here, mostly because Messages isn't in the greatest position to just be pure split pushing, right? He's been kind of weak, and they've been able to catch him a couple of times. And best case scenario, the Rise is still going tank, and he hasn't quite finished the Fimbulwinter, so he's not entirely strength. I think right here is the finish of it. Yeah, right there, he just finished it. So at this point, he's still mostly health, and he has no armor, so he can't really side lane against Camille. So they're sending them off to the opposite side of the map. Yes, he's got teleport, but for the most part, I would prefer him to be with the rest of his team just so that they don't have the potential to get engaged on. It forces the rest of third party, I think, to play a little bit further back, and I'd like to see them be able to press an advantage that they've got, where like Zamudo can step up to throw a shock blast, Munchie can step up and throw a Q, and force the rest of Wildcard back, and buy them a bit more space in the middle of the map.
Especially because I feel like we've gone back to the mid lane and we've seen the same sight over and over again. It's Jeremy just spitting hot flames into the mid lane, clearing out the minion wave, just permanently getting that mid wave funneled into him. So I'm with you. I want to see more aggressive actions come out. I want to see third party be able to step forward and punish Jeremy and Pockets whenever they're jumping forward. They're the squishy members, right? Oh, scattered awake. Oh no, this is not a good play for them. Munchie gets taken down. A beautiful Moonlight Vigil as well. The play is going to delay the inevitable, as it will be a hook shot over to Out of Wit. A double kill for this affiliate. The Super Mega Death Rocket doesn't find its mark, but the Shockwave will. Toasty in critical straits right now, but the Baron is the possible turn here, but Wildcard Ace is a little bit split at the moment. There is still the Chase, there is still the Jinx, there is still the Rise. They are melting this. They've got the guns to be able to melt this. You can see Toasty trying to zone away. Shock Blast, though, are doing the damage that they need to do. Here we go, the play to come in. Messages, Zamudo finds the kill. Hammer time, drop it on to the Ophelio. Zamudo is completely unleashed upon this team. Rapid trying to find his mark onto Messages. It's a triple kill for Zamudo. He's looking to bring the hammer down a little bit further. These glitter lances have been such a huge annoyance for him. The shields are there. Munchie comes back, finds 1 kill. Zamudo continuing to march forward. Nice shot blast and a double kill for the Lee Sin. What a turnaround. And now the Baron started by third party.
It's the remix, Travi. We saw this just minutes ago around the Baron buff where multiple members go down, and you still have Zamudo up, you still have a Jinx up, so you've still got a team fight on the side of third party. And here, Wildcard, I don't think they want to full commit to this. They want to turn and they want to fight more than anything else. And because of that, like they're not full committing to either side of this, even though they drop Baron to 3,000 health, and it allows for Zamudo to get 2 full rotations off before anything else comes through. And you can see the impact he has. 2 full members go down, he gets Toasty on the backside of that fight, and the exchange is just for the 1 member.
Like, that's just disgusting. Look at the damage that Zamudo did there. I was just flabbergasted. He's just free hitting over and over and over again. And it was also just such a split call. Now you see third party, they're setting up around the pit here. A nice tag onto Jeremy, but he will be able to escape. This will be the second Drake, a Mountain Drake for third party.
And this is what breaks the game open for third party now. They've got tied up dragon count against Wildcard Aces. They've got the superior team right now in terms of gold, like allocation and the amount of gold, because they're up about 4K right now. And most of that's in the right person in Zamudo, right? He's on 3.5 items. He got penetration for days, and there hasn't been an armor item started for either Toasty or Jeremy in this game. That does not bode well when it comes to getting poked by this Chase by any standard of the game. And that means anytime this guy is around you, you have to back off. Right there, you see it, like, I think they saw him on the forward minion, and he immediately had to leave, even though he dipped off to the side just because they didn't know where he was going. And that also means that, again, this 4-1 split they have with Messages in the side lane works so much better if you've got Zamudo on this kind of a gold lead, because all it takes is 1 solid shock blast to shove somebody out of a fight.
And one shot blaze, and then just go hammer time and be able to stop any efforts that Wildcard has is always good. Munchie looking for Jeremy on the play, not going to extend that any further. Yale Force is back online for the Affiliates as well. So now the action comes in. Third party looking to do the rotations. They're looking to spread apart Wildcard Aces. They're doing a phenomenal job of it.
They really are. And right there, again, it's the 4-1 split push where Messages was on bottom side, shoving that wave up to make sure there's a punishment, and the rest of the team shoving up mid with the Baron buff. And it's difficult to repel the wave. It's difficult to stand here when you've got this potential siege of the Jace standing outside. That means that Jeremy has to be careful with the position. You can see the damage. It's right there. It's so hard to avoid the amount of damage he's down. And Jeremy has to play out of backlight. He has to walk back to base now just to get his thing. Wow.
Yeah, I like this answer, actually, with the questionnaire. If you were the winning esports award, what would it be for? Worst weak side player. Let's go.
Let me ask this, right? Is this humility? Is this him being, like, humble and being like, I'm bad at playing, like, weak side? Or is it him being like, I want to always play strong side? Which of those is that supposed to be?
I think anytime he's playing top lane, wherever he is strong side. That's what I think he means by that. And that's what we're getting to see in full display here. But Min, looking to play spoiler 2, that Headset ultimatum laid out. The rest of the team's going to be able to follow beautiful Moonlight Vigil to be able to lay out the damage. Look at the affiliates. Look at the damage. Jeremy just pumping it out. And now it's the rest of Wildcard Aces on the turnabout, trying to chase down Zamudo and Lunar, the MVPs of this team so far. They're on a swift retreat as it is Wildcard answering back.
Very solid play coming out from Wildcard. And there goes the air in the tires because Zamudo hits a single shot blast. Okay. It's the matter of, like, they're setting up siege and they're poking down, and it forces Wildcard into a position that they have to engage, which is kind of what their composition's designed for. Oh, that rocket's going to get blocked by Jeremy. So Main goes in first, followed by Rapid. They use a great ultimate combination between I think the ultimate from Jeremy was a bit of a miss. I don't know if it was a communication thing with Rapid, but he knocked targets away from what was the Infernum ultimate, and it didn't end up doing having the effect that I think he wanted it to, but it was a solid one fight because they're able to really hard engage into the team, which isn't something easy to do for third party. They're much more about standing back and putting in damage from a pretty decent distance, almost like a poke composition. The only difference is that the range is a little bit lower and they're really only relying on the one champion for it.
The game it's gone back to its lull after everything, all the craziness that we just saw happen upon our eyes here. But Wildcard Aces, I mean, this isn't a huge gold lead for the third party, right? It hasn't really felt like it's gone past 4K this entire time. Even though the gold lead has been able to get to that point for third party, they haven't been able to find a way to extend it. The inhibitor tower is holding on for dear life in the mid lane, but the party's doing a good job of doing what they can. But Wildcard Aces has been playing spoiler to their efforts.
It is Wildcard Aces bending, not breaking in a case like this, right? They've got a 4-1 and 3 Aphelios who's farmed up really effectively. 3 full items, has the stopwatch in the back pocket. They've got Engage. They've got a composition that actually works really well together in a 5-on-5. They are never in a losing position in this game if they're able to land that solid Engage. That can always save them. And they've got the gold in the right places in Jeremy, and I think Tosi's getting to the point where the two of them will do enough damage to be able to carry out a team fight. It's just a problem of whether third party can land enough damage ahead of time. And Zamudo, again, is the one that can do that. If they shut him out, there's no chance of that, and Wildcard run this game, whether they're even or down 4K either, just because the Jace can't put the damage in that he needs to. This is interesting, because Messages is continuing the split push. No one has responded to him. I almost want to see him ult that wave to mid-tower.
Yeah, right?
That's what I would have done. If I would have saw that, I would have immediately done that, but...
Look at this decision-making coming out here, though. They want this dragon, but... They're just barreling down. Riot's got a tower for themselves. They're going to be able to secure the dragon for Wildcard Aces. These are the critical members. Moonlight Vigil is going to be able to come through. It's going to be TPs flying in from both the mid laners here. Toasty gets immediately decimated, eviscerated. Man going forward. Messages is in the back, but he's so far out of this fight. Nobody else can catch on to any of the vital members. It's a double kill for the Camille. Min looking to march forward. Has Rapid to back him up. It is Munchie here to this flank, but it will just deter the side of Wildcard Aces. Jeremy completely untouched in the fight.
I love that this is a Wildcard bluff call. Please do not give me the remix part 2. Oh no. Okay, they've got
go.
3 members.
Okay.
Okay, they're gonna be.
Oh, they called him on the bluff.
There we go,
Messages
there we go.
gets caught in a bad spot. Is going to get tagged. Looking for a little bit more follow-up to come in. Jeremy going to land a good amount of damage. Looking to see if he can apply a little bit of CC. Go ahead and drop the gravity. And Messages going to find himself getting taken away from the map. Rapid is going to find himself getting that kill. And it is now third party. Find himself trying to defend. But the MVP, Mr. President, has been taken off the table. And Munchie is still there without a wit. Rapid goes golden, but this is just going to secure his fate. Shields come in to save his life. Wildcard Aces will make for the hills now. Super Mega Death Rocket almost connecting to finalize Rapid's life.
Finally able to make a fake work, get enough space closed against Samudo to bring him down. As Min and Rapid have been able to find these fantastic moments of engage up against third party. Despite having their 2 high, well, at least Samudo, who's the highest damage member on the team, down, they're going for a Baron, which is a call and a half.
Aphelios is not here, though. Toasty is going to be able to find the kill on the wit, but check this out. Min over into the backside finds Lunar immediately, and a little bit of panic, a little bit of worry leads to this double kill for Toasty, and Munchie limping away from the Baron pit.
And again, this stalls enough time for Zamudo to be back up, so you still have to be very careful because one Shock Blast can still win this. Munchie's still up. He still has the Dragon Rage kick. You could make a play for this if you're third party. They want to try to punish this. This time, Min is actually going to be in the way. So is the Cinder. I think it's a lot harder to infringe on this. There goes Pacus.
Pacus is dropped, but that's Baron secured away. Aphelios has red and white, and that is signs for third party to not take that fight. Wildcard Aces will make their way to top side.
It's so stressful to watch this game. It's like Wildcard are this perfect situation where every time they get an engagement now, it is really difficult for third party to disengage them at all. And so you have to put so much focus into making sure that all your members are within striking distance of whoever is going to get engaged while simultaneously positioning yourself to put damage. And Wildcard just have not been allowing that to happen. Again, their carries in the right position. Rabadon's about to be done alongside everything else that has come through for the penetration from Toasty. And there isn't a bunch of magic resist. You see the first item being built by Munchie, but outside of that, nobody's really itemized for defense against magic damage. You combine that with a 4-item Aphelios, and the teamfight damage is here. You just need the engage, which has been the best part about Wildcard's fight up until this point. They've got the teamfight, they've got the backing for it, and it's difficult to slow them down. They've got the Baron buff to shove out the waves for the next minute and 30 seconds before they have to make a commitment onto the Dragon to grab that soul point away. That or they just call the bluff of third party and they say, let's push down mid lane instead. Looks like a couple of members are backing. Messages is going to stay this push the way he has most of the game as well.
Just go ahead and continue to put that pressure into the spot side. It is going to be this inner mid tower dropping. Another brick falls off. Toasty's still taking damage. Zamudo still hurts. But you see Wildcard Ace, they're moving forward with confidence. They know they melt these towers. This inhibitor nets to follow as they're trying to just brute force their way through this. Jeremy free hitting onto it. Rapid goes in, and it followed up by Min. They're going to be able to find the Jinx yet again. Zamudo trying to do his best to survive, but it's just not enough. Wildcard Aces are coming in here. They have a point to be made. They find the ace. They find themselves a triple, and this is going to be game number 1 to Wildcard Aces.
And what a performance for Wildcard. Another game where third party, they come out to a pretty decent lead. They're starting to fight back in a game like this. But Wildcard find their crux in team fighting. They find it off the back of Rapid. I'm going to say it outright. He and Min both had great engages. But most of the time, it was the Xin Zhao catching my eye as being the initiator, the follow-up from Pacus on the Lulu as well to be able to confirm a lot of those engages in very significant ways. It led to them being able to get the damage into the right place. Nobody was able to get damage past that front line. It was a brick wall setup that they were supposed to drive through on third party. Couldn't do it. Wildcard. Perfect setup, perfect execution of the fighting. Very resilient to the last possible moment and able to turn that game around.
Well, Wildcard Aces are good. Like, that was really good from them. But like you said, even though that I say that comment, I still have this feeling of nervousness. Like, I have anxiety inside of my body right now after watching that game. It was like watching them constantly fighting, but both teams were on a tightrope the entire time. And one of the teams was going to lose their balance eventually.
It felt like, honestly, like if you look back at that game, I feel like we never really got a stop to the action. I feel like it was one consistent fight that kept going through like 30 minutes of gameplay, where it was like one person would die and then like the fight would get drawn down the map like by 30 seconds, and then more engagement would happen. One would come back, another would teleport in, and it was such long drawn out engagements that Wildcard was able to like, again, when they were running 5 members together and they weren't going for a split push and they had the way to make the first opening move every single time, it's so much harder, I think, to make a full response, because then you have to yield something on the side of third party, and they showed that they never really wanted to. How many times would the Baron get baited before eventually Wildcard were able to figure out to just 5-man crush against them and end up taking everything in the backside?
We got a desk full of beautiful people waiting to break everything down and get us ready for a game number 2, which I'm personally very excited for. So, gents, go ahead, take it away.